I want you to just picture your workplace for a second.
Oh, yeah. That's always a fun exercise.
Right. Because we have this habit of pretending the office is this place of pure, cold logic. Like it's just a domain where decisions are made on spreadsheets and everyone acts like a rational machine.
Yeah, what the old management theorists used to call bounded rationality.
Bounded rationality, exactly. Just cogs in a machine. But the reality is, well, it's a messy, highly emotional landscape.
It really is.
Which is exactly why you're joining us today. Welcome to our deep dive. We are jumping into some brilliant material from Catherine Miller's textbook, Organizational Communication, Approaches and Processes.
That's such a great text.
It is. And our mission today is to completely shatter that illusion of the rational office. We are looking at what scholars call bounded emotionality.
Right, which basically means we're unpacking how organizations literally script our feelings.
Yep. How authentic emotions actually survive on the job, how your coworkers can completely drive you crazy.
Or keep you sane.
Or keep you sane. True. And how communication is both the cause of and the cure for workplace burnout.
Because for decades, management theorists just ignored emotion completely.
Totally ignored it.
Yeah, they treated workers like robots. But today, the research shows that communication at work isn't just transmitting data. It is an emotional transaction.
So let's start our journey by looking at the most extreme way organizations try to control all this messy emotion.
Oh, by literally writing it into the job description.
Exactly. There is a Deli employee handbook.
Oh, I know the one.
You know the quote. It literally tells its workers, and I quote, "Under no circumstance should a customer ever wonder if you are having a bad day.
Wow.
Your troubles should be masked with a smile."
It's just jarring.
It is. Arlie Hochschild coined a term for this.
Yeah, and in her book, The Managed Hard, she calls it emotional labor.
Emotional labor.
Right. It refers to jobs, mostly frontline service workers, who have to display very specific feelings to just, satisfy their organizational roles.
So it's like being an actor in a play.
Yeah.
But the organization is the director, and the play literally never ends.
That is a perfect analogy. And the research breaks this down into two different methods. The first is surface acting.
Which is just pasting on the fake smile.
Exactly. You're just masking. But then there's deep acting.
And deep acting is different.
Very different. It's when you try to actually evoke the required emotion internally.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so think of a flight attendant. Instead of just faking a smile at an annoying passenger, they might try to imagine the airplane cabin as their own living room.
Oh, so they're trying to literally feel like a host.
Right. They're trying to generate genuine hospitality so the acting doesn't feel like acting.
That is wild. I mean, the source material mentions that crazy case study, the cruise from hell.
Oh, the Triumph cruise ship.
Yeah. The ship loses power, there's horrific conditions, just a total nightmare for days. And the crew is working around the clock, dealing with angry passengers, but keeping these smiles on their faces. And when they were asked about it, they just said, it's a part of the job.
Because they were doing intense emotional labor.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I'm playing devil's advocate here.
Go for it.
Is surface acting really so bad? I mean, isn't it just basic professionalism to hide your bad mood from a customer? If I'm buying a sandwich, I don't want the deli guy's existential dread,
Well, sure, as a customer, you don't. But we have to look at what it does to the worker.
Okay.
Faking it constantly creates something called emotional dissonance.
Emotional dissonance.
Right. It's this massive psychological risk. Your brain is feeling one thing, but your body is being forced to display the exact opposite.
That sounds exhausting.
It is. It leads directly to stress and anxiety.
Yes.
You are fundamentally alienating yourself from your own feelings.
Just to keep your paycheck.
Exactly.
So if emotional labor is all about faking it, what happens when a job actually requires authentic feeling?
That's where we move from the service counter to, say, the hospital room or the classroom.
Right, because the textbook contrasts emotional labor with what Ashforth and Humphrey call emotional work.
Yeah, emotional work is totally different.
It's genuine, right?
Yes, it involves spontaneous, authentic emotion. You see it in healthcare, education, human services.
Like a teacher feeling actual joy when a student finally gets a math concept.
Exactly. Or a nurse feeling real sorrow when a patient passes away. It's not faked.
But the source outlines that there's an actual process to this compassionate communication. It's not just a reaction.
Right. There are three distinct processes. First, you have to notice the need for compassion.
Paying attention to the details.
Yeah. Then you have to connect.
Meaning?
Taking the other person's perspective. Establishing an empathic bond. And finally, responding.
doing something that actually makes a difference.
Exactly. You notice, you connect, you respond.
So here's my question on that. If an organization sees how effective this genuine compassion is,
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
can they mandate it? Like, if I'm a boss, can I just order my team to authentically connect with our clients?
Well, no. That's the
You
paradox.
can't put it in the handbook.
You really can't.
Yeah.
When organizations try to commodify authentic emotion to boost the bottom line, it almost always backfires.
Because it's not authentic anymore.
Right. It turns that meaningful emotional work right back into exhausting emotional labor.
Wow.
You're forcing people to act like they genuinely care, which just causes that emotional dissonance again.
Okay, so we've looked at how emotion is directed outward at clients and customers, but what about the emotion directed inward?
You mean at the people sitting right next to us?
Exactly, our coworkers.
Yeah.
Because emotion isn't just in the job description, it permeates the entire social network of the office.
Oh, absolutely. Sandilands and Budins actually point out something fascinating about this.
What's that?
When people talk about work, they very rarely talk about the actual tasks.
Wait, really?
Yeah, they talk about their involvement in the group, the people.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because Waldron highlights these points of relational tension in the office.
Right, like the conflict between public and private life.
Or conflicting allegiances. But the big one is this concept of relational morality.
Which is basically our unwritten code of what is fair and just in the workplace.
And when that code gets broken, things get explosive.
Very.
There's this crazy specific quote from the text about relational rights.
Oh, the promotion story.
Yes. A woman was accused by a coworker of sleeping her way to a promotion, and her response was, quote, "I took my fist and cold-cocked that little sucker."
Which is intense.
And she added, "I have never had another comment to my face."
I mean, that completely destroys the myth of the rational office right there.
Completely. We are highly emotional creatures, and to me, Waldron's concept of emotional buzzing perfectly captures this.
How do you mean?
Well, I think of emotional buzzing like a virus in a sealed office building, or like putting a single drop of dark food coloring into a clear glass of water.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Right. Just one negative comment from a coworker in a Monday meeting can spread like a contagion, and it infects the whole staff's mood.
And that spans a huge spectrum. On one end, you have cultures of deep compassion. But on the other extreme, you have the toxicity of workplace bullying.
Which is incredibly common, unfortunately.
Yeah, the data is staggering. 90% of adults report experiencing workplace bullying at some point.
90%. That is almost everyone.
It's an epidemic, and it destroys that relational morality we talked about.
So whether it's the strain of emotional labor or the heavy burden of emotional work, or the virus of a toxic coworker buzzing.
It all adds up,
It does. All this emotional weight eventually reaches a tipping point.
and that tipping point is burnout.
Burnout. And surprisingly, the way we communicate is often the root cause of it.
Right. Freudenberger and Maslach define the burnout syndrome as having 3 distinct dimensions.
So hey, break those down for me.
The first is emotional exhaustion. You just feel totally drained, used up.
The tank is empty?
Exactly. The second is a lack of personal accomplishment. You feel like a failure, like nothing you do matters.
And the third?
Depersonalization.
Right. The textbook uses a really visceral metaphor for this one, viewing people through rust-colored glasses.
Yes. It's a defense mechanism. If you're a burned out social worker, you start referring to clients by their case numbers.
You stop seeing them as human.
Right. You just view them as problems.
So how does communication cause this?
Well, through workload issues, obviously, but also role conflict and role ambiguity.
Meaning your boss isn't clear about what they want from you.
Exactly. You're constantly guessing, which burns cognitive energy.
Which leads to exhaustion.
But the really interesting part of the research is how empathy plays into burnout.
Right. So what does this all mean? Because I need to push back on this a bit.
Okay.
We are always taught that empathy is the ultimate communication skill, right? Yeah.
Sure.
Are you saying that feeling what someone else is feeling is actually a bad thing for a worker?
It can be. The research splits empathy into 2 different types.
Okay.
There's emotional contagion and there's empathic concern.
What's the difference?
Emotional contagion is feeling with another person.
Like absorbing their emotion.
Yes, like a funeral director who literally absorbs the grief of every client. That is an extreme vulnerability and it leads straight to burnout.
Oh, I see.
Empathic concern, on the other hand, is feeling for another person.
Feeling for them.
Right. You care for them, but you maintain a boundary. like a counselor helping a hysterical client without becoming hysterical themselves.
So the emotional contagion is bad, but the empathic concern is the sweet spot.
Exactly. It lets you provide excellent care without destroying your own mental health.
That makes so much sense. So if communication like contagious emotion or ambiguous roles or office buzzing, if that's the poison that causes burnout.
The good news is that communication is also the antidote.
Let's talk about the cures. The source material outlines some very specific communicative coping strategies,
The first big one is participation in decision-making, PDM.
which sounds like a corporate buzzword.
It does, but it's vital. By giving workers an actual voice, it reduces that role conflict and ambiguity. It makes them feel valued.
And the second strategy,
Social support.
which isn't just people being nice to you.
No, it's highly functional. The research breaks it into 3 types: emotional support, informational support, and instrumental support.
Okay, so if I try to break this down with an analogy for you, the listener,
Go for it.
imagine you're drowning at work, like completely underwater on a project.
Okay.
Emotional support is someone standing on the shore saying, I know this is scary, but I believe in you. You can swim.
Boosting your self-esteem, right?
Informational support is someone standing on the shore and throwing you a manual on how to swim.
Helpful, but maybe not enough.
Exactly. But instrumental support, that is your boss throwing you a life preserver and literally pulling you out of the water,
Perfect analogy. They are providing physical, material assistance.
taking things off your plate.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is how the research maps out who provides what.
Right, because you don't get all of this from one person.
No. Supervisors mostly provide that instrumental and informational support.
Because they have the power to change your workload.
Exactly. Coworkers, on the other hand, provide informational and emotional support.
They know the struggle.
They're in the trenches with you. And then friends and family provide emotional and instrumental support.
Like listening to you vent or cooking dinner when you're too exhausted.
Exactly.
So to summarize all of this for you, to be truly well-informed about your workplace, you have to look past the crisp organizational chart.
You have to see the emotional current running right beneath it.
Because whether you are surface acting for a customer, dealing with an emotionally buzzing coworker, or just managing your own empathic concerns so you don't burn out, your words and your feelings absolutely matter.
They are the core of the work experience. And honestly, looking at the later chapters of our source material, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over.
Oh, please do.
We are seeing a massive shift in how organizations function, right? We're moving toward more disposable workers, heavy telecommuting, gig economy freelancers.
People working totally isolated in their home offices.
Exactly. So the big question is, if the future of work separates us physically, what happens to these emotional coping mechanisms?
Wow.
Right. If we lose the physical water cooler, do we also lose the vital coworker social support that we need to survive burnout?
That is a phenomenal question, and it's one that you, our listener, are going to have to navigate in your own career as the landscape changes, because the human element isn't going anywhere.
No, it's not.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep your empathy bounded, and we will catch you next time.